Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Dylan Wagasback. I represent National Center for Transgender Equality. We're all here today with our partners to stand in solidarity with the transgender troops and service members who are going to have to be dealing with the impact of this ban when it goes into effect on Friday this week, April 12th. So we have a fantastic group here today. I'm so excited that all of you are here to stand in solidarity with our troops. I just want to go ahead and kick us off. I want to introduce you to Hannah Tripp, who is a member of the Board of Directors of OutServe SLDN. Thank you.
Good afternoon. For me, one of the most beautiful aspects of our armed forces is its ability to inspire every facet of our society to volunteer life and limb for a singular ideal. As we have seen with countless despots, regardless of whatever weapons they may possess, a military that is not representative of the people it serves will always falter to a force comprised of the will of the people. The people of this nation have voiced their support for open service. The leaders of our military have voiced the need for open service. And transgender service members have proven themselves integral to the combat effectiveness of our armed forces. I am an aerial gunner, or former aerial gunner, in the United States Air Force. I'm a veteran of the war in Iraq. I am transgender. That knowledge in of itself confers no tangible insight into who I really am, to what I have done, and to what I am capable of doing. This is the reason why we're all here today. None of us can be defined by a singular characteristic or trait, and to attempt to do so is a disservice to the unique identities that are embodied in each one of us. Open service is not just a discussion of trans rights, because as we will hear, being trans is just one aspect of an identity. What is lost in these conversations are the individual traits that encompass trans service members, any service member. They are fathers and mothers, sons and daughters, aviators, special operators, and combat medics. They are all warriors who have proven themselves to not only meet, but to exceed the standards demanded by the most effective fighting force ever fielded by this nation. We are here because of the service members who have to decide between medical care for being trans. The stark reality of why I am here today is the consequence of a policy based not on the capabilities of an individual, but on the prejudices projected on a group. I have to say, it really is inspiring to see everybody here today, and from so many different backgrounds, to our elected representatives who are giving us a voice in the highest level of government, to the coalition of organizations that have come together to help rectify this wrong, to the service members who not only show through their words, but more importantly their actions, that they are integral to our defense. It's through this community and it's through this unity that we are going to be able to make positive change. And I can't thank you enough for being up here.
How is everyone today? I want to thank OutServe SLDN and all the advocacy groups out here today for hosting this rally. These great organizations are doing important work to ensure our LGBTQ service members have a voice in the conversation. I also want to thank Mr. Kinney and Mr. Brown for their outspoken leadership on this issue as well. To the transgender service members here, we hear you, we support you. 2 days from now, the President's discriminatory transgender service member policy will go into effect. It is important to tell this administration that the transgender community have the right to dignity, the right to respect, and if they choose, they should have the right to serve their country. I served in the Navy during the time of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Too many were forced to live their lives in secret, unable to be true to themselves. We don't want to go back to those dark days. No one should ever have to hide or feel ashamed because of who they are. This administration is attacking service members who have already proven their ability to meet strategic needs and pose no risk to unit cohesion and military readiness. As far as I'm concerned, any person who has the courage, the spirit, and commitment to serve our country in uniform when so many choose not to should be allowed to do so. The president continues to exploit fear and bigotry across the country, and the transgender military ban is just another example of his hateful policies. We must continue to tell this administration that we are not bound by what we look like, not by the way we practice our faith, not by our backgrounds, and certainly not by our gender identity. We will fight for the idea that anyone out there who is willing to join the military, work hard, and serve their country will be treated equally. We must pass the Equality Act to forever enshrine the LGBTQ protections in law for Americans. This will ensure all service members receive the VA benefits they are entitled to. I am committed to fighting against all forms of discrimination. To everyone here, continue to make your voices heard. Continue to speak out against hate. We are on the right side of history, and we will be victorious. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman, and thank you all of you for being here. My name is Harper Jean Tobin. I'm Policy Director with the National Center for Transgender Equality. I am proud to be here standing with the service members and veterans and members of Congress and everyone else opposing this ban. This is a disgraceful moment in our history. For the first time, one of our national institutions will be turning back the clock on equality, shutting its doors to people who have already proven their ability to do the job. This Friday, our country will be taking a big and disgraceful, shameful, and unnecessary step backwards. Americans have long grown accustomed to expecting our country to move forward on matters of equal opportunity. And the military has been no exception. That was the case when President Truman desegregated the military. It was true when President Ford opened the military academies to women. And it was true when Congress and President Obama repealed the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. We continued on that path in 2016 when Secretary of Defense Carter lifted the discriminatory and needless ban on transgender service members. Thank you. Tens of thousands of transgender people had already served in our armed forces, but an arbitrary and outdated ban forced them to hide who they were, just like under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and in many cases ended their service prematurely. After over a year of study by Pentagon officials, by medical and mental health experts, Secretary Carter lifted that ban. The military saw it was unnecessary. It was harmful. Carter said at the time, Secretary Carter said at the time, we can't allow barriers unrelated to a person's qualifications to prevent us from recruiting and retaining those who can best do the job. Since then, it's been 3 years, and we have seen a policy of inclusion works. A policy of prejudice doesn't. We have seen over 13,000 transgender troops be able to serve openly, and they have disproved all the myths in those 3 years. And yet, for the last 2 of those 3 years, President Trump has been threatening to bring that ban back. We've been seeing these threats, this proposal to bring this ban back, and in 2 days, hard to believe it's really happening. You know, the service chiefs already made clear they value the service of anybody, transgender or not, who can do the job. That's what they care about. That's what they should care about, not irrational prejudices or outdated fears or myths about transgender people. So we have this coming into effect in 2 days. A ban on transgender people. It's just like Don't Ask, Don't Tell. They put out pages of pages in this policy of legalese and bureaucraties and all of it to obscure the very simple way this policy works. If you're transgender, regardless of if you can do the job or not, if you cannot or will not hide the basic fact of who you are every day that you serve, you can't serve. You're turned away. You're going to be pushed out. It's a ban. It's that simple. Now, this policy has exempted supposedly a few hundred folks who have already come out and transitioned and proved that open service works. They're going to be exempt. They're also going to be labeled a mistake that shouldn't be repeated, that nobody else like them is going to be allowed to come along and be open about who they are and transition and do the job. Because they've shown they can do the job. They've shown they've been able to transition on the job with minimal time out. They've been able to do multiple deployments. And so, that small group of people, they're going to be exempt. But nobody else like them can come along. If you haven't come out, if you haven't transitioned by this week, you can't. If you can't hide who you are, you're pushed out. That falls well short of any reasonable bar, frankly, for any institution in this country for sound personnel policy. What's behind it is junk science and dangerous myths about transgender people. That's it. That's why it has zero support in the mainstream medical community. That's why it's been denounced by dozens of former military leaders. It goes flatly against the reality of the last 3 years. And it erases, or tries to, key principles our nation is supposed to stand for. This ban replaces freedom with discrimination and democratic deliberation with wayward tweets and fear-mongering. We're not ready to retreat from this fight. This fight is not over. In the courts, where service members are still challenging this ban, it's not over. It's not over in this building behind us, where there is bipartisan support to stop this ban. Congress has got to do what is right. What is right for people in uniform, what is right for our country, for the values and the spirit of our country. We cannot allow our nation to be taken backwards in the name of fear and bigotry. The lies spread by this ban about transgender people have consequences far outside the military as well. They send a dangerous message. But all of us, 2 million of us in this country who are transgender, are lesser than our fellow Americans. Not because of whether we can do any particular job, including in uniform, but because of who we are. It sends a dangerous and false message to transgender children and youth around the country and to their peers. That is not who we are as a country. certainly isn't who he should be. So Congress has got to step up and defend trans Americans and the best of our values as a nation. And I am proud to stand with all of you and work and fight to make that happen. To stop this ban. To end it once and for all. Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, everybody. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Can I tell you how grateful I am to be with you today? On the one hand, difficult, frustrating circumstances. I also cannot tell you how honored and thrilled I am to be here with all of you on a glorious spring day in our nation's capital. In line with the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial, the U.S. Capitol behind us. To know that this country's promise from our founding days was about making us as a nation a more perfect place. About expanding on a definition of equality. And the recognition that from our earliest days, that definition has shut out large segments of our society. And yet, we continue. And yet, citizens every single day take steps forward to demand that they are seen and heard, be heard and valued by their nation. We gather today because to make good on a commitment that men and women have made to serve our country in uniform, to defend our freedom, while their government tells them that they cannot be free to be who they are, and yet still they serve. Still they step forward. Still to defend the foundation upon which our nation was begun. I cannot promise you that we will win this fight by Friday night. But I can promise you that we will win it. Because you all are here. Day after day. Moment after moment. Fighting for your loved ones, fighting for your families, fighting for your future, and fighting for our country. You get this done. You will ensure it. You will continue that journey that we began some 200 plus years ago, and we continue every single day into our future. Honored to be by your side every single step of the way. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Sharon McGowan. I am here with Lambda Legal. I want to thank Congressman Kennedy. I want to thank all the other members of Congress who have already spoken and are on their way over here today. And I want to thank everyone who is with us here in person and around the world in spirit to speak out against this despicable attempt to drive brave transgender men and women out of our military. I am proud to be the legal director and chief strategy officer of Lambda Legal, one of the national organizations to take down this ban, and we're not here to go away. We're here to fight. We are here to win. The men and women who want to serve this country deserve nothing less than our best, and that is what we intend to give them. As has been noted, for over 3 years, transgender men and women have been serving openly and honorably in all branches of our nation's military. They have made incredible sacrifices for each and every one of us here today. And to every trans person who is out there, who is currently serving, or who wishes to serve, my message to you is simple. We know that you make our nation's military stronger. Your commanders know that. Your units know that. People in both parties of Congress know that. And most importantly, the overwhelming majority of the American people know that. And yet, in just 2 days, this ban will go into effect, despite the fact that it will destroy careers and undermine military readiness. And make no mistake about it, this is a ban. No matter how much some people may try to claim otherwise, this policy targets and discriminates against transgender people by forcing them to choose between living with dignity and authenticity or serving their country. No person should ever be forced to make this choice. It undermines values that are not only important to our military, but should be important to all of us. Honor, integrity, honesty. There is nothing about this ban that promotes any of these values. Instead, transgender people are being forced to deny who they are in order to keep serving this country, which is a disgrace. It was wrong when gay and lesbian service members were forced to serve in fear and in silence, and it is equally wrong when trans service members are required to do so. We all stand here today to show our love, our support, and our deep gratitude for these brave men and women who are fighting for us. People who have volunteered to sacrifice their lives to defend a Constitution that has not always lived up to its promise of equal justice under law. People like Staff Sergeant Katie Schmidt, who is currently deployed in South Korea, and Petty Officer Megan Winters, who is stationed just across the river in Virginia. People like Ryan Karnofsky, who want to enlist so that he can use his training in social work to help service members heal, who are dealing with the pain and the trauma they have experienced in war zones across the world. They all want to serve because they believe in what this country can and should be, and we believe in them. And so I am here on behalf of my colleagues at Lambda Legal. I am here to say that we will not stop fighting in the courts, in Congress, and in the court of public opinion. We will not stop fighting until we have taken down this ban once and for all. Every service member needs to hear and needs to know that we have your six. We have your back. Do not despair. Do not give up hope. Every person standing here today, and the millions of other Americans, and again, people throughout the world who are standing with us in spirit. They see you. They honor your service and are standing with you today. And we will be holding you in our hearts on Friday. And we will be fighting with you every step of the way from this day out. Thank you very much. And it is my privilege and honor to introduce one of the most brilliant transgender litigators in this country, Shannon Minner from the National Center of Lesbian Rights.